sun rises, another day begins, and before the world reaches your mind, you have a choice. Before the phone, before the noise, before the opinions of others, there is a brief moment where your mind still belongs completely to you. In that silence, the person you are becoming is waiting for instruction. Most people lose that moment without noticing. They wake up and immediately let fear, comparison, regret, or worry speak first. Words are not empty sounds. The words you repeat to yourself become patterns. They shape the way you interpret pain, pressure, opportunity, and failure. The Stoics understood that the quality of a life begins with the quality of the mind. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but he knew that the greatest battle was not always outside the gates of Rome. It was inside the mind, in the thoughts, a man allowed to guide him. Most people begin the day by surrendering. They check the news and let fear decide the tone of the morning. They scroll through social media and let comparison measure their worth. They replay yesterday's mistakes and let regret steal today's strength. But if your first thoughts are weak, your day begins from weakness. If your first words are disciplined, your day begins from command. This is why the morning matters. It is not just the start of the day. It is the place where your inner direction is set. Science calls it repetition. Stoicism calls it training. Repeat a thought long enough, and it becomes familiar. Repeat a belief long enough, and it becomes part of your character. Your mind is listening every morning. The question is, what are you telling it? Today, we begin with the first morning affirmation. I choose my response. Life will strike. That is guaranteed. People will disappoint you. Plans will change. Your body will feel tired. Money will create pressure. And things you hoped would be easy may become difficult. The Stoic does not pretend life will stop testing him. He prepares his mind so that when the test comes, he does not hand over his soul to the situation. I choose my response is a declaration of inner authority. It means you may not control what happens, but you refuse to become a puppet of what happens. Between the event and your next action, there is a space. In that space, your freedom lives. You can react blindly, or you can pause. You can let anger speak for you, or you can breathe. You can collapse into panic, or you can ask, what is the wise response here? Epictetus taught that some things are within our power, and some things are not. Your past is not fully in your power. Other people's choices are not fully in your power. The weather, the economy, the timing of life, and the opinions of others are not fully in your power. But your judgment is yours. Your intention is yours. Your response is yours. When you waste your strength fighting what you cannot control, you become weaker. When you focus on what is truly yours, you become steady. Imagine waking up tomorrow and receiving news that changes your plans. The old mind reacts instantly. It panics, complains, imagines the worst, and turns one problem into a whole story of defeat. But if you have already spoken the words, I choose my response, something inside you pauses. You still feel concern because you are human. But concern does not become chaos. You look at the situation clearly, decide what can be done, and take the next right step. Or imagine someone you trusted lets you down. The old version of you might carry that hurt for months, replaying every detail, letting betrayal become an identity. But the trained mind says, I choose my response. You do not deny the pain. You simply refuse to let pain choose your character for you. You may speak honestly. You may create distance. You may forgive. You may walk away. But whatever you do, you choose from dignity, not from wounded impulse. This is not emotional suppression. Stoicism is not pretending that nothing hurts. It is the discipline of feeling without surrendering command. Anger can visit, but it does not need to rule. Fear can speak, but it does not need to decide. Sadness can be present, but it does not need to become your entire identity. A Stoic does not kill emotion. He trains emotion to serve reason. The rewiring happens through repetition. For years, your mind may have built a path from trigger to reaction. Someone criticizes you, and you defend yourself immediately. Something goes wrong, and you assume disaster. A memory returns, and shame takes over. But every morning you say, I choose my response. You are building a new path. And every time you pause during the day, that path becomes stronger. Marcus Aurelius faced pressure, betrayal, illness, war, and responsibility most people could never imagine. Yet he kept returning to the same truth. A man's strength is found in his command over his own mind. You may not control the event, but you can control the meaning you give it. You may not control the wound, but you can control whether it turns you bitter or wise. You may not control the test, but you can choose the person who meets it. So say it tomorrow morning before the world speaks first. I choose my response. Say it slowly. Say it like a command to your nervous system. Say it before checking your phone, before stepping into your problems, before letting old patterns take over. You are not helpless. You are not just reacting to life. You are someone who can pause, breathe, judge clearly, and choose. That is where Stoic strength begins, not in controlling the whole world, but in refusing to let the world control your inner state. And once you understand that you can choose your response, the next affirmation becomes even more powerful. Growth lives here. The second morning affirmation is this: growth lives here. Say it before the day becomes comfortable. Say it before fear has the chance to convince you that discomfort means danger. Because most people spend their lives running from the very places where their strength is waiting to be built. They avoid difficult conversations, delay hard decisions, stay in familiar pain, and call it peace. But the Stoic understands that growth rarely announces itself as comfort. More often, it arrives as pressure, resistance, uncertainty, and the part of life you would rather escape. When you say, growth lives here, you are training your mind to see discomfort differently. You are not saying pain is pleasant. You are not pretending every hardship is good. You are reminding yourself that even in difficulty, something can be formed. Seneca taught that difficulty strengthens the mind as labor strengthens the body. Just as the body grows through resistance, the soul grows through challenge. Without weight, there is no strength. Without friction, there is no sharpening. Without pressure, there is no proof of what you are becoming. Most people think discomfort means they are failing. They try something new, feel awkward, and immediately retreat to what is familiar. They begin learning a skill, make mistakes, and assume they are not talented. They face a boundary, a loss, a delay, or a rejection, and believe life is punishing them. But often, the discomfort is not the sign that you should stop. It is the sign that your old self is being stretched beyond its limits. Imagine sitting down to learn something you have avoided for years. Maybe it is a language, a craft, a discipline, a business skill, or a habit that would change your life. At first, you feel clumsy. Your mind resists. Your ego wants to return to what it already knows. But if you begin the morning with, growth lives here, you recognize the feeling. This is not failure. This is the moment where new strength is being built. The discomfort is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you are entering unfamiliar ground. The same is true emotionally. Maybe there's a conversation you have avoided because you are afraid of disappointing someone. Maybe you need to set a boundary, tell the truth, or stop accepting behavior that quietly drains you. Your heart may race. Your mind may offer 100 excuses to remain silent. But growth lives here, right in that fear, right in that choice to respect yourself even when it is uncomfortable. The old pattern wants you to keep peace by betraying yourself. The new path asks you to choose courage. This is not about becoming hard or emotionless. Stoicism is not the denial of pain. It is the discipline of meeting pain with purpose. Some things are genuinely heavy. Loss is real. Grief is real. Injustice is real. Betrayal is real. But even when life gives you something you did not choose, you still have a choice in what it does to your character. You can let suffering shrink you into bitterness, or you can allow it to deepen your wisdom. Epictetus was born into slavery, yet he found a kind of freedom no chain could touch, command over his own mind. His life reminds us that growth is not always born from ideal conditions. Sometimes it is born in the harshest soil. The question is not, why is this uncomfortable? The stronger question is, what is this discomfort asking me to become? More patient? More disciplined? More honest? More courageous? More detached from approval? More loyal to your values? Every day gives you a place to practice. When you are criticized, growth lives here. When you are tempted to quit, growth lives here. When you feel behind, growth lives here. When you must apologize, forgive, begin again, or keep going without applause, growth lives here. The moment becomes different when you stop treating challenge as an enemy and start treating it as training. Say it every morning. Growth lives here. Say it when the day is easy, so your mind is ready when the day becomes hard. Say it when you feel stretched, so discomfort does not trick you into retreating. Say it when fear rises, so you remember that fear is not always a stop sign. Sometimes it is only the doorway between who you were and who you are becoming. You do not need to love every hardship. You do not need to pretend the path is easy. You only need to remember that your character can use what your comfort would waste. Growth lives here in the challenge, in the resistance, in the unfinished places, in the pressure that asks you to become more disciplined than yesterday. And once you learn to see growth in the present difficulty, the next affirmation becomes essential. Today matters most. The third morning affirmation is this: today matters most. Yesterday is already beyond your reach, and tomorrow has not yet been placed in your hands. But today is alive. Today is where your breath is. Today is where your choices exist. Today is the only place where you can correct a mistake, practice discipline, speak with courage, forgive, begin again, or take one honest step forward. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to confine his attention to the present. Not because the past has no value, and not because the future should be ignored, but because your power does not live in either one. The past can teach you, but it cannot be rewritten. The future can guide your preparation, but it cannot be controlled before it arrives. The Stoic mind returns again and again to the present, because this moment is the only field where action is possible. Most people lose today by living in two prisons: regret and anxiety. They replay conversations from months ago, wishing they had spoken differently. They punish themselves for mistakes they can no longer change. Or they run ahead into the future, imagining problems that may never happen, rehearsing arguments that may never come, fearing outcomes that are not yet real. While the mind is trapped there, today quietly disappears. This is why today matters most. It's not just a calming phrase. It is a command to return home. Home to this breath. Home to this task. Home to the person in front of you. Home to the choice that can actually be made now. You are not denying yesterday. You are refusing to live there. You are not ignoring tomorrow. You are refusing to let tomorrow steal the strength that belongs to today. Imagine waking up with your mind already crowded by everything you need to handle this week. Deadlines, money, family, work, unfinished plans, conversations you do not want to have. Before your feet even touch the floor, your chest feels heavy because your mind is trying to carry 5 days at once. But then you pause and say, today matters most. Suddenly, the mountain becomes smaller. You do not need to solve your whole life this morning. You only need to do the next wise thing. Maybe today that means making your bed, drinking water, moving your body, answering one message, finishing one task, or choosing not to react to one old fear. These things may seem small, but a life is not built in dramatic moments alone. It is built in the repeated discipline of ordinary days. The future you are waiting for is being shaped by how you treat this hour. Or maybe your struggle is not the future, but the past. You are haunted by an old version of yourself, a mistake you made, a person you hurt, an opportunity you missed, a season where you were not as wise, strong, or disciplined as you wish you had been. Regret can feel like responsibility, but often it becomes a quiet form of self-punishment. The Stoic does not deny the past. He studies it, learns from it, and then returns to the present with greater wisdom. Today matters most because today is where redemption happens, not by rewriting yesterday, but by refusing to repeat it unconsciously. If you were impatient before, today you can practice patience. If you were careless before, today you can choose attention. If you were afraid before, today you can act with courage. The past becomes useful only when it improves the way you live now. Seneca understood that each day could be treated as a complete life. Begin it with intention, use it with discipline, end it with reflection. This way of living removes the illusion that life exists somewhere far away. Your real life is not waiting for the perfect year, the perfect success, the perfect relationship, or the perfect version of yourself. Your real life is this day, and the way you meet it. So say it every morning. Today matters most. Say it when your mind tries to drag you backward into regret. Say it when anxiety tries to pull you forward into imaginary disaster. Say it when the day feels ordinary, because ordinary days are where character is trained. Say it when the day feels heavy, because heavy days still contain choices that belong to you. You do not need to carry the whole past. You do not need to control the whole future. You only need to return to the present and ask, what can I do with wisdom right now? That question restores your power. It makes you calmer, clearer, and more useful to your own life. Today matters most. Not someday, not back then. Today. This breath, this hour, this action, this choice. And when you learn to live from today, the next affirmation becomes necessary, because the present can only be used well by someone who no longer believes they must earn their worth. The next words are, I am enough. The fourth morning affirmation is this: I am enough. These words are simple, but for many people, they are the hardest words to believe. The world has trained you to think you must become more before you can be at peace. More successful, more attractive, more productive, more admired, more approved, more impressive. But Stoicism reminds you of a deeper truth. Your worth is not something the outside world grants you. It is something you must stop surrendering. When you say, I am enough, you are not saying you are perfect. You are not saying you have nothing to improve. You are saying your value is not dependent on the next achievement, the next compliment, the next relationship, or the next visible proof that you matter. You can grow without hating yourself. You can improve without believing you are incomplete. You can pursue a better life without treating your present self as something shameful. Epictetus taught that the wise person does not grieve over what he lacks, but rejoices in what he already has. This is not a call to laziness. It is a call to sanity. You already possess the ability to reason, to choose, to practice virtue, to correct your path, to begin again. These are not small things. The world tells you to look outward for proof of your worth. The Stoic path tells you to return inward and govern what is already yours. Most people live on a treadmill of insufficiency. They reach one goal, and immediately the mind says, not enough. They earn more, and comparison points to someone richer. They improve, and insecurity finds another flaw. They receive praise, and fear whispers that it will not last. The finish line keeps moving because the mind has never learned contentment. So when you say, I am enough, you are stepping off that treadmill. You are refusing to let endless comparison decide the value of your life. This affirmation changes the way you move through the world. When you believe you are not enough, you perform for approval. You say yes when your soul knows it should say no. You twist yourself into shapes that please others while quietly betraying yourself. But when you remember that your worth is not negotiable, your decisions become cleaner. You can listen to criticism without being destroyed by it. You can respect another opinion without making it your master. You can walk into a room without begging silently to be accepted. This does not mean you become arrogant. Arrogance is often insecurity, wearing a crown. True enoughness is quieter. It does not need to prove. It does not need to dominate. It simply stands. A Stoic person can admit weakness, accept correction, and keep growing because their identity is not threatened by imperfection. They know that being unfinished does not mean being unworthy. Maybe the voice of not enough comes from inside you. You look in the mirror and see only what is wrong. You review your life and notice only what is missing. You compare your beginning to someone else's success and call yourself a failure. But the inner critic is not always truth. Sometimes it is only an old habit speaking with confidence. When you say, I am enough, you are not pretending that voice does not exist. You are simply refusing to let it have the final word. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself how little is needed for a happy life, because happiness depends largely on the way we think. He did not write this as a man without burdens. He wrote it as someone carrying power, pressure, illness, betrayal, and responsibility. Yet he understood that a person who keeps searching outside for peace will never stop searching. The mind must be trained to recognize what is already complete within. So say it every morning. I am enough. Say it especially when you do not feel it. Say it before the world tries to sell you another reason to dislike yourself. Say it before comparison speaks. Say it before shame builds its case. You are not using these words to avoid growth. You are using them to grow from a place of dignity instead of self-rejection. You are enough, and still you can become wiser. You are enough, and still you can become stronger. You are enough, and still you can change your habits, heal your wounds, sharpen your discipline, and build a better life. Enough does not mean finished. Enough means your worth is not waiting at the end of the road. It is walking with you now. That is a Stoic balance. Humility without self-hatred, ambition without desperation, growth without the belief that you are worthless until you arrive. And once you understand that you are enough, the final morning affirmation becomes easier to live. I release control. The fifth morning affirmation is this: I release control. These words are difficult because the mind loves the illusion of control. It believes that if you plan enough, worry enough, predict enough, and hold on tightly enough, life will finally become safe. But the truth is, the tighter you grip what was never yours to command, the more peace you lose. You may think you are protecting yourself, but often you're only exhausting yourself. Stoicism begins by drawing a clear line between what is yours and what is not. Your effort is yours, your attitude is yours, your preparation is yours. Your discipline, your honesty, your boundaries, your response, and your next action belong to you. But other people's opinions, the exact timing of success, the choices of those you love, the past, the future, and the final outcome of many situations are not fully yours to control. When you confuse influence with control, suffering begins. I release control does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you become passive, weak, or careless. It means you stop trying to force what cannot be forced. You can show up with intention. You can do your best. You can speak clearly. You can set boundaries. You can make a plan. But after you have done what is yours to do, you must release the demand that everything unfold exactly according to your script. Think about someone you love making choices that hurt them. You may advise them, support them, and speak honestly. You may be present, patient, and compassionate, but you cannot live their life for them. You cannot force their maturity. You cannot carry responsibility for decisions that belong to their path. When you say, I release control, you are not abandoning love. You are releasing the illusion that love gives you ownership over another person's journey. Or maybe what you are trying to control is time itself. You had a vision of where you should be by now. The career, the money, the healing, the relationship, the success, the version of yourself you thought would already exist. But life moved differently. There were delays, detours, closed doors, and seasons that made no sense. A Stoic does not use this as an excuse to quit. He uses it as a reminder to return to what is still within his power: preparation, discipline, patience, and character. Seneca understood that what people call luck often appears when preparation meets opportunity. Your part is preparation. The timing of opportunity is not always in your hands. So instead of wasting your strength trying to command the hour when life must reward you, build the person who will be ready when the hour comes. Train your mind, strengthen your skill, sharpen your judgment, keep your character clean. That is, control used wisely. Marcus Aurelius carried power, pressure, and responsibility, yet even he could not control plague, betrayal, death, or the outcome of every battle. What he could control was the way he met those things: his judgment, his conduct, his duty, his response. That is the same lesson for you. You may not control the whole situation, but you can control whether the situation controls your soul. So say it every morning: I release control. Say it when anxiety tries to convince you that worrying is responsibility. Say it when your shoulders are tight from carrying what was never yours. Say it when you have done your part, and fear still demands more. You are not giving up. You are becoming wiser. You are learning to influence what you can, accept what you cannot, and stop letting the uncontrollable steal your peace. This is where real freedom begins. Not when everything finally obeys you, but when you stop needing everything to obey you before you can breathe. The world may still be uncertain. People may still choose differently than you hoped. Time may still move slower than you wanted. But if your mind is no longer chained to control, you have already recovered something powerful. And in the next part, we will go deeper into how these 5 affirmations begin to rebuild your inner world, one morning at a time. These 5 affirmations are more than morning words. They are a new internal language. I choose my response. Growth lives here. Today matters most. I am enough. I release control. Each one trains a different part of the mind. Together, they begin to rebuild the way you meet life. They teach you not to react blindly, not to run from discomfort, not to live trapped in yesterday or tomorrow, not to measure your worth by the world, and not to exhaust yourself controlling what was never yours. This is what it means to rewire the mind. It is not done through one emotional moment or one inspired morning. It is done through repetition. The words you speak again and again become the thoughts you return to under pressure. The thoughts you return to become the decisions you make. The decisions you make become the character you live from. And over time, character becomes destiny. Most people do not fail because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They fail because their inner language is weak. They wake up and tell themselves, I can't handle this. I'm behind. I'm not enough. Nothing ever works for me. I need everything to go perfectly before I can be okay. Then they wonder why they feel powerless. But the mind obeys the instructions it receives most often. If you keep feeding it fear, it will build fear. If you feed it discipline, it will build strength. The Stoic path begins when you stop letting the world write your thoughts for you. The news does not get the first word. Social media does not get the first word. Your past does not get the first word. Your anxiety does not get the first word. You do. Every morning is a chance to take back that authority before the day becomes loud, before people ask for your energy, before problems demand your attention, before old habits try to pull you back. When you say, I choose my response, you remind yourself that no event owns your next action. When you say, growth lives here, you stop treating discomfort as a sign to quit. When you say, today matters most, you bring your power back to the only moment you can actually use. When you say, I am enough, you stop chasing worth like it is something outside you. And when you say, I release control, you free your energy from battles that do not belong to you. This is not positive thinking in the shallow sense. It is disciplined thinking. It is choosing the words that make you stronger instead of the words that keep you trapped. A Stoic does not repeat affirmations to escape reality. He repeats them to meet reality with a steadier mind. He knows that hardship will come, that people will be difficult, that plans will change, and that pain cannot always be avoided. But he also knows that his mind can be trained before the storm arrives. Think of these words as mental armor. You do not wait until the battle begins to build armor. You prepare before the pressure comes. You train before the test. You speak these words in the quiet morning, so that when life becomes difficult, they are already inside you. They rise when anger comes. They rise when fear comes. They rise when disappointment comes. They become the voice that reminds you who you are trying to become. This is why the morning is sacred. Not because everything will be easy, but because it gives you a clean place to begin. One day at a time, one phrase at a time, one choice at a time. You are teaching your mind a different way to live. You are no longer waking up as a servant to old reactions. You are waking up as the architect of your inner world. The Stoics did not build these principles in comfort. They were not writing soft words for easy mornings. Their wisdom was forged in slavery, exile, political danger, sickness, grief, betrayal, war, and the ordinary heaviness of being human. Epictetus learned freedom while living under conditions that tried to take freedom from him. Seneca wrote about peace while standing close to power, danger, and death. Marcus Aurelius searched for inner order while carrying the burden of an empire. Their lives remind us that mental strength is not proven when everything is calm. It is proven when life becomes difficult and the mind refuses to collapse. That is why these 5 affirmations matter. They are not decorations for a peaceful day. They are tools for the days when peace is tested. When someone disappoints you, I choose my response gives you space before reaction. When life becomes uncomfortable, growth lives here, helps you stop running from the lesson. When regret or anxiety tries to steal your attention, today matters most, brings you back to the only moment you can use. When the world tells you that you are behind, broken, or not enough, I am enough protects your dignity. And when you feel yourself gripping outcomes too tightly, I release, control, brings your strength back to what is truly yours. This is how the mind is rebuilt, not by escaping life, but by meeting life differently. You do not need a perfect morning. You do not need perfect belief. You do not even need to feel strong when you speak these words. In fact, the words matter most when you do not feel them yet. A person does not become disciplined by waiting until discipline feels easy. A person becomes disciplined by practicing while resistance is still present. There will be mornings when you wake up tired. Say the words anyway. There will be mornings when anxiety rises before your feet touch the floor. Say the words anyway. There will be mornings when yesterday's failure still feels heavy, when someone's opinion still hurts, when the future still feels uncertain. Say the words anyway. Not because the words are magic, but because repetition is training. Every time you speak from wisdom instead of fear, you make the old pattern weaker and the new pattern stronger. Old reactions will not disappear in one day. The mind may still want to panic, compare, complain, or control. That does not mean you have failed. It means the old road has been walked for a long time. But every morning, you are building a new road. Every time you pause before reacting, you build it. Every time you choose courage over avoidance, you build it. Every time you return to today instead of drowning in the past or future, you build it. Every time you remember your worth without needing applause, you build it. Every time you release what you cannot control, you build it. This is the quiet work most people avoid. They want transformation without repetition. They want confidence without inner training. They want peace without changing the thoughts that disturb it. But the Stoic path is honest. It says, your life changes when your mind changes, and your mind changes through daily practice. Not once, not only when inspired, daily. So take these words seriously. Do not rush through them like a motivational quote. Speak them slowly. Let each one become an instruction. I choose my response today. I will not be ruled by every trigger. Growth lives here today. I will not treat discomfort as defeat. Today matters most today. I will not give my strength to ghosts or imagine disasters. I am enough today. I will grow without hating myself. I release control today. I will do my part and let go of what is not mine. If you live this way long enough, people may not immediately see the change, but you will feel it. You will notice that anger does not take you as quickly. Fear does not command you as easily. Criticism does not destroy you as deeply. Delays do not make you collapse the way they once did. You become calmer, not because life became easier, but because your inner world became more ordered. That is the real goal. Not to create a life without problems, but to become a person who does not lose himself inside every problem. Not to control every outcome, but to control the way you meet outcomes. Not to become emotionless, but to become governed by wisdom instead of impulse. This is Stoic strength. Quiet, repeated, practical, and deeply human. And now, the final step is simple. Tomorrow morning, before the noise begins, before your phone pulls you into the world, before fear starts telling you who you are, you must decide what voice will lead your mind. In the final part, we will bring these 5 affirmations together into one daily practice you can actually live. Tomorrow morning, before the phone, before the noise, before the world tells you what to fear, Take one quiet moment and speak to your own mind. Do not rush it. Do not say these words like empty motivation. Say them like instructions to the person you are becoming. I choose my response. Growth lives here. Today matters most. I am enough. I release control. These 5 affirmations are simple, but simple does not mean weak. A blade is simple. A compass is simple. A breath is simple. What matters is whether you use them with discipline. Each phrase brings your mind back to Stoic strength. You are not here to be ruled by every event. You are not here to run from every discomfort. You are not here to live trapped in regret or anxiety. You are not here to beg the world to prove your worth. And you are not here to exhaust your soul trying to control what was never yours. This practice will not make life perfect. That was never the promise. People will still disappoint you. Plans will still change. Old thoughts will still return. Some mornings, you may say these words and feel nothing. Say them anyway. The Stoic path is not built on perfect feelings. It is built on repeated choices. One morning at a time, one response at a time, one moment of awareness at a time. You train the mind to serve wisdom instead of fear. When the day tests you, return to the words. If anger rises, remember, I choose my response. If discomfort appears, remember, growth lives here. If regret or worry pulls you away, remember, today matters most. If comparison tells you that you are behind, remember, I am enough. If anxiety tries to grip every outcome, remember, I release control. These words become powerful when they leave the morning and enter your actions. This is how the mind is rewired. Not through one dramatic change, but through daily inner leadership. You become the kind of person who pauses before reacting, grows instead of retreating, returns to the present, stands in quiet worth, and releases what cannot be forced. That is not weakness. That is command. That is the kind of strength Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca pointed toward. The strength to govern yourself when life refuses to be governed by you. So tomorrow, begin again. Sit with your breath. Speak the 5 affirmations slowly. Let them shape the first direction of your day. Your mind is listening. Give it better words. Give it stronger thoughts. Give it a wiser master. And if this reflection helped you, subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. Share it with someone who needs a steadier mind. And leave this commitment in the comments. I am the architect of my mind.